Good morning. Today is Thursday, September 11th. It is 7:35 a.m. Central Time, so CPI numbers are out. Just looking at my financial juice and just seeing everything come in. And so we'll just be looking at everything together. Um, and so I guess just kind of looking at releases, it looks like jobless claims are higher than previous and higher than forecast. So that's not super good. Um, we got our year-on-year CPI is on point with forecast. We have our month-on-month. It's a little bit better month-on-month, which means, you know, I guess which could potentially mean like less of a reason to cut rates, but I think that's already kind of baked in. Like we're already expecting that. Um, Core CPI month-on-month is the same. Core CPI year-on-year is the same. Continued jobless claims. So let's see, previous was 40, forecast was 0.95, and actuals were a little bit lower, so that's good. So it's interesting, I guess, like a little bit mixed, a little bit higher initial jobless claims and in continuing jobless claims slightly lower, and then a little bit higher CPI month on month. So it's a little bit mixed, I think. Um, I don't think this little bit higher CPI number month on month would pause the expectation for rate cuts. I think that would be the only concern there. So yeah, rate futures pricing reflects bets on four straight quarter point, 0.25 Fed rate cuts through January. And so I think we're just expecting rate cut after rate cut after rate cut. And if you look at the Fed watch, 90% chance expectation of, a 0.25 rate cut, um, or, yeah, in this range. So I think there's that. So we are expecting something that hasn't changed. I think, um, well, it's interesting that if you look from a month ago to a week ago to about, I guess, a day ago, now there's some expectations of bigger rate cuts, but very, like 8%. But I would say safe bet, and it's priced in that, hey, we're going to get our 0.25 rate cut here in September. So we're all expecting that. If that doesn't happen, that will be really, really bad. Um, I mean, it really be really bad for the market, I think. So let's see. I don't know. I think Powell and Trump are always fighting, so maybe Powell will just say, "Screw you, man. I'm not going to do a rate cut." That would be interesting. It would cause definitely a lot of volatility. Um, so that's what things look like for the CPI. We'll look at price here in a second. I actually haven't really looked at the price action since the release, and so we'll be looking at that together. I guess now I flashed it here. Yeah, when I looked at the charts earlier, we were on highs, and it looks like now we're pulling back after that release. So that'll be interesting. So we'll look at that a bit more. And so when the CPI came out, I was like, oh, here's all the results. Grok, please tell me what this is about or what you think. And after reading it, basically, it's like, oh, we're cautious, basically. And so there's kind of, I think it's some people are a little bit bearish in their tone, I guess, on X. And then, you know, and nothing on the long side, really. Nothing, nothing really saying, everybody's saying cautious and potentially bearish, it seems like, from reading all this. Short term cautious, potential squeezes or reversals. So it's like cautious and can go either way. So here, this is what it is today. So I guess we will just see. Um, And so if we look at the results and interpretations from our handy dandy AI here, so year on year CPI is neutral, obviously, because it's flat, neutral. So bearish tilt. So this is the month on month, which we talked about, because actuals came in a little bit. So this gives us a little bit bearish, neutral. And then, but you have the bullish counter, right, which we kind of talked about with the initial jobless claims becoming lower and a little bit positive with the continued jobless claims being lower. So it's pretty mixed today. So I guess from a scalping perspective, this is good. So definitely always being open to both sides. You just have to like look at the key level, see what price does, and kind of trade it. Um, so there we go. Yeah, scalping industry, fade extremes, buy dips if NQ holds above 2000. 2000. Okay. Um, yeah, so I guess 2000 seems to be a good level, which is seems like it's pretty far away. That's like it's like quite a ways away. So you can't really put too much weight into what AI says as far as price levels, which is interesting. Um, and if today closes flat or positive, expect consolidations. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't put too much weight on that, but definitely on the interpretation, I would say, it's neutral more or less. Good tit for tat on bullish versus bearish. So we can go either way. So let's see. And then looked at the options flow yesterday, but looked at big premium. So anybody who spent 2,000 or more yesterday with expiring today. Um, and so looking at all that, we have a couple of we had a couple of what happened here? Let's see. I want expiring today. I want premium of 200K. I want just all sides. And then I want the Qs. Yeah, and so here we had, so it seems to be, what is like some kind of, this is the put at the mid. I'm not sure what this is. But then we bought this put here for a 250,000 at 578, and also another put bought, so like 500,000 for 578 strike price. That is currently 580 and 579. Okay. So that's interesting. These puts, they're selling the puts, so they're probably just trying to collect here. So it could be hedges potentially. But somebody bet, or multiple people bet, like $500,000 at this 570 that will be below this 578 level, and then also that people would be buying puts for this 578 level. Um, so, and then I marked that 578 level here on the chart, did the conversion. So 578 coincides here with this level, this 23880. So this little line here, yeah, 23880, ish. So we'll see. Or no, is that no, hold on. Um, no, 578 was much lower than that. Yeah, 578 was 23798. So yeah, it's 23800, right? So 23800 right here. Here you go. Doot, doot. Wait, so 23798, 23800. So if I do 23800, I thought I marked it, but I'm just jumping around at this point. Let's see, 23798. Yeah, so 23800. So we're expected to be below this. So those 500,000 put options are expecting us to be below this line to be in the money. So that'll be interesting to watch if we can somehow flash down there today. So we shall see. Put an alert here. So I will keep that in mind. And then we had the dark pools from basically yesterday and today, which is really just yesterday. Not too much money. I mean, we're just talking like 100 million here. There was like 100 million traded at this 580.5, let's call it. And then we kind of, a little bit bought up, bought here in this 570. So not really, really big transactions, but it really, when you look at how the big dark pools progressed, we had like, hundreds of millions, hundreds of millions, hundreds of millions. I think this was like a big level, and then this is the latest one, which is the 580.5 level. Oh, yeah, it's right about here. And so for me, it's like, we bought this, we're up. This one up, transacted this, we're up. Transacted here, move around, stayed up. Another dark pool here. Today we're opening up. Somebody bought again here or transacted here, and we're up, right? And so I feels like we're kind of averaging up just because price is going up. Um, so it's quite interesting to just watching the progression of these dark pools and watching the progression of price. So I think, yesterday I was expecting like, hey, we should test all-time highs. We didn't do it. And we kind of had similar price action as Friday, and that was a possibility for me. Similar price action, which I guess should be expected since, we had 2 days of back-to-back big releases of stuff. But still looks bullish, even though we were on highs before the CPI, and now we've kind of sold it off. So we'll just see what that looks like. I think for me, just looking at this, obviously looking at this dark pool level and seeing how we react here, right? Like if we get down to these levels, we'll react. I'm also going to keep in mind that people have some put options below here today. So that is interesting for me to just kind of just keep that in mind. Drinking my coffee. So yeah, I mean, look at price. It's still up, no matter how you look at it. Even with yesterday, it's still a higher low and a higher high. Even with the closing on the red, it's still bullish. Still looks bullish. We closed above this dark pool level. We closed above this, not this key level. We closed above this dark pool level after sweeping it and pushing back up. And then we had more dark pool levels show up in the mid of the candle. Um, and in the mid, you could go either way, but just kind of following the progression of the dark pools and the progression of price. I mean, you can't argue with things going up, and then like with Oracle earnings being crazy the last couple of days with the AI news and stuff. um, I think like path of least resistance still feels like it's up, but obviously definitely open to selling off. I'm always open to shorts. I love me some shorts, but I have to have my eyes open and just looking at price and looking what's happening here. Like price is holding up even after the CPI news. I haven't even looked intraday. We were on highs, we pushed down, and now we're pushing back up. So we'll just see what the morning brings. So I guess since we're here, let's look at how are things looking intraday on the NQs, and then we'll go to the indexes. Yeah, and so this is regular trading hours. Let's look at this electronically on the hourly. Right, and so we had, so CPI release this hour. I guess we opened way up here, went all the way down, I guess back to these dark pool level areas to this key level, and now we're back up. So that's quite interesting. Just from an MA perspective, like we've reclaimed the HMA, our clouds are turning green again. If this 1 hour closes above into this green, that looks bullish to me. And you just look at this, like you can just draw like little channel trend lines here and just it's going up. So that is what we have to keep in mind. I think, obviously if we want to retest this level and it fails, that's going to be a good short. But we just have to see if price really fails there to take it. But I think there's lots of room to buy down here, even if we like sell off crazy and all this stuff. And, if this holds, definitely looking to buy. Yeah, I think the options are expecting to be below this right here. Yeah, so if we can't break below this area, then yeah, it's definitely a long. If we, I guess, get below here and we just keep going, then sure. But we'll see what that looks like. And then on the 1 minute, be similar to the hourly, but I just want to see if any interesting price action to take note of here. Yeah, so we got our high and low, which would be marked, but I'm going to mark it anyways, just so I have it. We're going to mark this. We're going to lock you. We're going to mark this low. And we'll mark you. But yeah, I mean, had 7:30, big volatility, and then nice sell off here. Back to this dark pull level, the latest dark pull level. Bounced off of that. Progressing up, and now we're back into the green on the MAs. Now pushing back up into the key levels and stuff. So yeah, I mean, let's see. It's a good, nice little rebound there. We'll see what the open brings, but again, even with that volatility, it does feel like here's the PPI release, push up, and we sold off. Wow, missed all this in the afternoon, but oh well. And then back to this dark pull level, which is so interesting. Push back up, um, launched off the dark pull level again, launched off here again, came back down to it, launched off again. So I don't know if we're just like transacting here. Bam, bam, bam. Pushed up, pushed up, pushed up. PPI comes. We dip back into these levels. Are we adding? I don't know. And up we go. So it's just quite interesting. I feel like it's still up for me just looking at this price action. But again, I will see if price gets crazily up here and we fail, then obviously it's a short. So let's see. Yeah, so that's what that looks like. So we'll see what the intraday brings, but I will just be watching how price reacts to all these levels and see what looks good. If we do a quick look into the indexes here. So quick look into the indexes. Yeah, we're green again on the Qs. After that PPI, it pushed back down, didn't get below the opening price, and now we're going back up. That looks bullish, just looks up. It looks bullish. It looks like it wants it. We have the ES, so it's looking more bullish. It's like right there within striking distance of the highs. We're talking 55, 65. Okay, yeah, we're within 10 points of the highs. So, unless sellers like really, really come in and defend that high, but it's never a good idea to really, I mean, on the first rejection, I guess, of all time high, but yeah, we'll see. So that looks bullish. I think for the Russell, it's interesting. Like we haven't, the ES has made a higher high, a higher high, a higher high, like these last three. Well, so higher high here, higher high here. So like last 2 days made higher highs. Last 2 days, no higher highs. It was flat and then higher low. NQ, higher high, higher high. And then the Dow just flat. So we're kind of, I mean, this is super like ascending triangle type of pattern. So people will see that, it looks like we're poising up. We got a bunch of higher lows here and flat on the highs. It feels like it's very possible for us to pierce through that. So Dow still looks poised. ES seems like it's leading us. NQ, I think it's like, hey man, I want to follow ES. I feel like it wants to. Russell is interesting, but we're not making lower lows as well. So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of similar to the Dow, but a little bit shows some sign of bearishness, which is interesting, but obviously it's super bullish. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on that. For VIX, sideways action. For the dollar, more or less sideways action. Ooh, for the Treasury note yields, we did make a new little low here. Kind of broke all that. I don't know if you would call that support, but you definitely made a low here, which is bullish for the Qs. So that is good for bulls if you're into it. And then for the wow, yeah, and so for the tech sector or the XLK, we gapped up, closed red, but have a nice gap to close. So that's interesting. Pre-market, we're opening $1 up, so it seems bullish. We're opening above the close of yesterday. So yeah, the close and open of yesterday. So I mean, it feels like we want up. I mean, I'm looking at price and it just feels like we want up. I want short because I feel like there's, it'll be fast and be a lot of opportunity there, but I feel like we still just might grind up until we get the rate cut stuff. So there's that. And then let's look at our mega tech. Ooh, Apple, what happened? That's amazing. So I mean, that's probably weighing us down, but that dark pool would have been an amazing trade there had you just kind of played it, but everything in hindsight, right? But that's pretty cool with the cooling off here. So that's definitely going to drag us down. We're looking at Microsoft. Looks like we touched that level that I wanted for the break and retest, and so now, we kind of fell over pre-market. We're back at it, so I might actually keep this on my radar just to see if we keep going down. Amazon, nice big pullback. Oh, all right. So everything is breathing now. So we've been up, but all tech is kind of breathing and pulling back. Google holding us up. Amazing. Super strong. Go AI. And then Meta, it was bullish, broke the low of yesterday, and also swept the low of Friday. And then pre-market we're opening a little bit up. I don't know. I mean, maybe now we want to close this gap and kind of be like Apple. So which would drag us down, which is interesting. Um, Nvidia is now it's holding up. It gapped up, and now pre-market we're at near the highs. So maybe it's going to be the inverse, where now Apple's going to weigh us down, and Nvidia is going to try to hold us up. Let's see how Amazon does and Microsoft, but Google and Nvidia seem to be our bullish plays. Tesla seems to be pretty bullish. We're holding up here. Looks like we're not wanting to break this low of Tuesday to close that gap. So we'll see. And we are testing these. We tested this high from June. So we'll see what happens there. That's interesting. And then the Qs obviously look like the XOK, broken highs, opening near the highs. So let's see. Let's see if how Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, if they can rebound and go back up, or if they sell off and kind of drag us down. Not sure. Quite interesting. Cool. Well, that's pretty much it for me. I think this video is running a little bit long. Just trying to grok everything and be prepared for the open. And so I think my plan for this morning is I am open for both sides. I think up is probably the easier direction, but I'm open to big, massive sell-offs before we do a rebound up, and would be looking to capitalize on the shorts if we do have massive sell-offs for whatever reason. Also open to testing highs and shorting if price can't get there, just given what's happening with Apple and Amazon, and Meta here. And so we shall see. But yeah, let's look at before I end here. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I mean, obviously the high and low of the CPI announcements are interesting levels for me. I think for me, the high will be the closer level to watch. If we can get there and then we can't break it and we start falling over, I will short that for sure. But then, and I guess later in the day, if we get back to here, can't break this, yeah, I will long. If we do break below this level, um, there could be shorts down to here potentially. Um, and then I guess if we open near here and kind of just hold above this area, which is the 2391, which seems to be where price has been kind of hanging out, in pre-market land here, could be a good long as well. So that is what I see, and we'll just see what the morning brings. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry this one ran a bit long, and good luck. Thank you.